we're live.
Yep. Okay, let me go YouTube. And looks like we are live on YouTube. Okay. And looks like we are live on. All right. Well, thank you for joining the Ed Sullivan Experience, everybody. We got a good show tonight. I have two people on with us tonight. Star Jones, who was here last time. Thank you, Star, for joining us again. We appreciate it. And Kelly Timms. This will be his first night here. He's also one of our sponsors for tonight's show. He owns Midnight Oil Muscle Car Parts. And you can go and get your Camaro parts from him. What year Camaro parts can you get, Kelly?
67 to 81.
67 to 81. So any of your Camaro parts you need, just go to www.momcp.com and get your Camaro parts there. All right. So tonight's show is going to be about the paranormal, UFOs. We're going to pick up with Star where she left off last week. And then we'll talk to Kelly about a paranormal experience he had at a graveyard, which that's kind of scary. I'm not sure about the ghost thing. I really am not.
We got to sell him on it, Kelly. He's just not.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this earlier. I've never seen a UFO, I've never seen an alien, never seen a Bigfoot or a Loch Ness monster, but I believe in those. But I've watched so many of these ghost shows with my wife, and I'm like, yeah, I don't think so. So I'm not sure. Let me just check something here real quick before we start, because I want to make sure everything is recording and showing up good. So looks like it. All right. Okay. So Star, thanks for coming again. I appreciate it. So what's new with Star?
Nothing really. Was sick last week.
I know that's why we didn't have the show, so I apologize to everybody. But
yeah, I had asthma really bad. Had an asthma attack. Had to go get a shot and I'm just sick, and I'm still a little sick, but I'm better.
Well, we appreciate you joining the show tonight, even though you're still a little sick. So we want to pick up from where we left off last week, and we were talking about. Yeah, well, we were talking about the sonic boom that you heard.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha. Well, there was one particular time, of course, like I, said, and they followed me. I don't know. They've just been there, followed me, whatever, been there forever. And there was, I touched on it, talking about how big it was and talking about how the lights that you think you see are not sometimes necessarily, they could be from one great big one, instead of I used to think there was one over here, there was usually in threes. And then I realized after this particular thing happened that maybe that was just the underside of one of the really big ones that had just the three lights on each corner of a triangle, so. But how that story came about was me and my family had been out to eat. And now I got to say this too. I know this sounds crazy, but I actually over the years got to the point to where I almost knew that I was going to have some kind of encounter several days beforehand.
Right.
I don't know how or why. It's just I would say to myself, they're coming. You just wait. And made a believer out of this particular group of individuals. But we'd been out to eat, and I just knew. And I had leaned up on the dash of the car, and I was looking out. And the person driving thought I was sick, that I just didn't feel well from something, from dinner where we had ate.
Right.
and had asked me a couple times, "Are you okay? You feel all right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm okay." But I continued basically kind of looking out the window and just not being very sociable. When we got back to their house, their driveway, they had a big 70s rancher sprawling, where the driveway you drove underneath, and it was kind of slanted down. And I was to the point where I was like, I want out of this car. And I slung open the door. And when I did, the door kind of swung downwards into the gravity took it. And I jumped out. My purse flew everywhere. My purse was in my lap. I dumped my purse. My purse was rolling down the driveway with all this stuff.
Wow.
And I just ran around the side of the house. And so my friend got the kids that was with us in the house, and they thought that I had went to throw up. They thought I was getting sick, that I had jumped out really quick to run around the side of the house and throw up. But that's not what it was. I'm standing there, and I'm looking up, and they came and, put their arm on my shoulder and said, are you okay? Did you get sick? Are you all right? I'm like, no, I didn't get sick. Well, what's wrong? What's the matter? And I just said, look, and you could just see this huge UFO as plain as day. And they were like, oh my God,
What did it look like?
It was black. Okay. Blacker than the night sky. Like the sky's black, but this was blacker. Almost like a black shirt on a gray background. You could literally see the triangle. You could see it. And there was a lot on each corner. Yeah, each corner. And so we walked on around the side of the house to the front of the house, and they went inside and got another adult. And how many kids were there? There was 4 kids. There was 4 kids and 3 adults. And my friend at the time, her husband was like, I'm not going out there and look at that mess. He didn't want to go outside. He didn't want to come out and look. That's how he was just so opposed, And we literally sat on her steps for a long time. I mean, it was cold.
He didn't believe it? Is that why he didn't go out?
He didn't want to go see. Didn't believe it. Didn't care. Didn't want to see.
I'd be like, I got to go see just because
I know, right?
somebody said it's out there. Okay, even if it's not out there, I'm going to look.
Well, he didn't. But anyway, so we were there for a long time. An hour, over an hour, long time. And to the point to where I'm like, well, I mean, it did move some, it would move around.
Right.
And there was a couple of things that was very interesting. This was in Maryville.
What year was this?
Let's see. I guess it was about 98.
Okay.
98. No, yeah. Because I was thinking about how Jess was. He was about 91, so 98 or 99. Actually, it was probably 99, I think.
Okay.
But anyway, so it was, actually I was kind of getting bored with it, as awful as that sounds. I always got cold and I was kind of bored, and I was like, okay, well.
Well, yeah, after an hour of just sitting there,
now
it's like, come on, do something, beam me up or something.
I've asked that many times. The one time Sid bring it up, I wished I hadn't. But anyways, the one girl, she was freezing to death. She'd already went in. The kids had already went in. It was basically me and one guy that was left. And he was ex-Navy, and we're watching it, and there was also some lights over that kept moving around over here. And I'm like, there's more than just this one. There's more. Look over here, and we were looking around. Well, all of a sudden, there was like 3. And those 3 like almost came into the big one. And it like kind of exploded in light. You could see it lit up. And it made a slow roll. And you could see it. You could literally see it. It just rolled and went. And when it did, there was a sonic boom. And him being in the Navy, I guess, I don't know, he just said he knew this from his experiences.
This is the guy that didn't want to come out and look at it? This is the guy that didn't want to come out and look?
Huh? No. This is the guy who stuck with me the whole time looking at it. Yeah. No, and he said it had to have been at least 3 football fields long to have made that loud of a boom and left that quickly. I mean, quick enough to make the boom, and that it had to be that big. I guess I don't know anything about sonic booms, but apparently he seemed to measure it by that somehow, saying it was like.
Yeah, that's crazy because I worked for Lockheed Martin Aerospace for 17 years. So, I mean, I've heard sonic booms and things like that. So, usually the sonic boom is when they're coming in, when something's coming back to Earth. So, yeah, for you to hear a sonic boom after it left, that's kind of weird, really weird.
Yeah, it did. I mean, it was just like boom. And I'll tell you something else that was really interesting, though, where the location that we were in was, the big, the mountain on the backside of Maryville. Gosh, what's the name of it? I lived there for 30 years and I can't tell you what the name of it is. Anyway, air traffic from North Carolina had a route that came in through there over, you could see the planes on a nightly basis from this house. It was like, what do you call it? Their trajectory, their incoming and outgoing, their flight pattern. It was a flight pattern. Yeah. And, for the whole time that we were there, like an hour and a half longer, the strangest things, and he's the one who realized it before I even did. He said, there's no air traffic coming in. None. There's no air traffic. So after it was all said and done, I knew it was stupid to do it, but we still called the airport and asked them about it. Asked them if there was anything,
and they said no.
Anything strange or weird or,
They're not going to tell you yes.
Of course. But there was no air traffic coming in at all.
Yeah,
at all. And there was flights that should have come in during that time, and they didn't. So I don't know if they rerouted them or whatever until it was gone, but that was a really interesting
crazy.
one.
I mean, crazy. All right, give me just a minute here. It's not recording Kelly, it said. Are you still with us, Kelly?
Yeah, I'm here.
I see.
Yeah.
Oh, but his little dot's gone.
So it's saying you're not recording. This is what we get when we're live. So, hey, do you want to come back? You want to go out and come back in?
Yeah, I can drop out real quick.
Yeah, okay. Let's see if that takes care of it. So that's pretty cool, though, Star. I love hearing stories like that because it just makes me believe even more that I know there's stuff out there, and there's a lot of stuff out there that we don't know that's not being told to us. So, and me and you, I know we've talked about that before. Our government knows so much more that they're not sharing with us, and I wish somebody would just share it and let us know. I think as a society we can handle it.
See, that's the thing that always got me the worst is they would always say, "Oh, their excuses was they didn't think that the
Right.
public in general could handle it." The public has been
Yep.
handling it forever,
There you go.
all
Yep.
along.
Now it's showing you're
There it
recorded,
is.
Kelly. So that's good.
Okay.
So thanks. So we were just talking about, we know that the government knows a lot more than what they're sharing. And we wish they would just share it because we can handle it as a society. I think we can handle it. But the government, it's like Star said, the government doesn't think we can handle it. And that's just, I think, ridiculous. What do you think?
Well, they have opened
They have,
up a
but they're
lot of
only
files,
opening up what they
though.
want to open up.
You know.
There's so much more that I
Yeah.
guarantee you.
I know. Well, my gosh, with what they've just opened, period, that's enough for most. There's a percentage. I can't remember what it is, but I think it's like maybe over 60% people.
Right, and they
actually
should.
do
I
believe
mean,
in UFOs.
from going from where we went in the 70s to the 90s, technology just advanced so fast. I mean, how do you go from 8 tracks to cassettes to CDs to you don't need anything? We can download and stream our music. Within 20 years, it went like that. It was quick, so fast. I was like, hey, I'm getting 8 tracks and cassettes for a penny. No, I'm not getting them anymore. That little thing they used to do. Buy 10 for a penny or whatever.
Columbia.
If you're old like us, you'll know. But then it was CDs. It was like, okay, now, hey, I got my first computer, and I was downloading music illegally, of course, right? Back in the old days, burning them on a CD, and it took, 2 days to burn like 2 songs, and now we're doing this live, So the technology, it just didn't happen. There's got to be, something that we've learned along the way.
We could have had everything. Like
Free energy.
Tesla, they sell stuff. We could have free energy. Hopefully, maybe. Have you heard about the new little generator thing that?
But what's going to happen
could
is the
go
government gets involved in it and they shut it down. If you go into the U.S. Patent Office right now and look up patents, there's patents on stuff that you'd be like, what? What is that? This is technology. Okay, I'm getting off on a tangent, so sorry, but it just gets me going. After watching that show that Star told me to watch, what was the name of the show again? God, I can't see how old I am.
Beyond, no, not
Above
beyond.
Majestic.
Above Majestic. So anybody that wants to know where this has all come from, and now this goes back, cover-ups.
All kinds of stuff.
This show
Watch
delves into
Above
a
Majestic
lot
and then
of
watch
stuff.
Unacknowledged. Okay.
It's free.
Yeah, you go on Hulu and watch
Free.
these. So
I would tell you,
I'm not
Hulu
doesn't sponsor this. Neither one of those shows sponsor that. None of those people have been on this show, but I watched those and I was like, oh my God, it was just amazing. It just opens your eyes to a whole new aspect of things. So what's your opinion on all this, Kelly? I know you didn't come on here to talk about UFOs. You came on here to talk about paranormal. But what's your opinion on stuff like this?
Well, I've always been a big fan of Tesla's work.
Okay.
I think that guy, I believe he was just way ahead, light years ahead of his time.
Yep. So
And
I.
I've watched several documentaries on him, and then a couple of the like conspiracy documentaries of where there's so many strange things about the week or so leading up to his death, and then all of a sudden, all of his paperwork, everything he's worked on is gone.
Yeah, there was one agency that was directed to go and get all his stuff, and where did it go? Because
Yeah,
if
exactly.
you know anything about Tesla, he was actually talked about free energy.
That's
So
right.
if you go watch those shows that we were talking about, you'll understand what we're saying, because that's a whole different show that I'm going to have to do now, because now I'm fascinated with free energy. So, but
Right. Well,
so yeah,
even in my background from automotives and stuff like that, I can't remember the gentleman's name off the top of my head, but um, there were several magazine articles on him, to where in the mid '70s he took a car, I think it was like a Buick Regal or something like that, and was able to change some things in the fuel system to where the car could get in excess of 100 miles to the gallon. And then all of a sudden, the government gets involved with it, and then he ends up dead, and somebody owns the patent, and the patent just disappears into paperwork
disappeared.
somewhere. Yeah.
The guy that created a vehicle that could run on water was shut down immediately. The government took over that. Patent's gone. Can't find it. Nobody could do it.
Oh yeah.
But he had a car that could run on water, on seawater.
Yeah,
That
and
would be amazing.
I remember probably about 10 years ago watching a show on energy, and a gentleman had come up with a cheap and easy way to make solar cells, to where he basically took two wires, some sort of black slurry that he made out of all these chemicals, dumped it in a mold, and he had a solar cell. So he was making them for ridiculous, probably less than $1. He's making solar cells, and then
Right.
the patent gets bought, and you've never heard anything about that again. So,
Yeah, that's
I mean,
crazy. That is crazy.
I mean,
Yes.
all these, yeah, all these ways to save energy, or different forms of energy and things of that nature that just disappear. I don't know.
Yeah. And well, that's because okay, go ahead.
Hey, Ed, I got one for you.
About the what?
Have you heard about the med beds?
No.
Med
Tell me.
beds.
No.
No. Oh.
I have not.
How about you, Kelly?
I have not heard.
You
Well,
have not?
now you have to share that with
Okay.
us, because now you have us intrigued.
Okay. They have med beds and have had for a long time. And it's almost like something off Star Trek. And now they've always been really big about putting stuff in movies and shows and this, that that's kind of their way of
Right.
sliding stuff in on us. The government, even Trump, has talked about the med beds. They are like something you'd see off Star Trek. You literally lay down in it, it scans you, and can fix certain things that is wrong with you.
What?
It can regrow body parts. It can do all kinds of things. Yes. You should do some investigating into it. You're gonna have to look long and hard, because I'll probably have to find it. You're not gonna find it, but it is out
Well,
there.
when you find it, send it
And
to me,
even Trump
please,
has mentioned it.
because I'll tell you what, I've been
Okay.
since I started this show, I've been doing a lot of research on different stuff,
I mean,
and I'm finding
maybe-
out. I'm finding things on Google Earth. If you go to Google Earth, there's certain places that you can go to and zoom in all the way. And I've got two, and I think next week when I do this, I'm going to find a way to share them and post them. But I've got two coordinates that I can go on these little tiny, one is in, actually, it's a little tiny island called Starbuck Island. And you zoom all the way in this one little corner, and you can see where something crash landed on there. And then at the edge of the beach, you can see the little saucer. This is a live Google Earth thing you go to. There's another one in Antarctica that you go to, this little tiny place in Antarctica, and you can see half of a circular dish that is buried in the snow. So I'm like, okay. And then there's another place off the coast of California that has like this looks like it's under the water, like a little base that was created. And if you go to Google Earth and you zoom in, you can see these pictures of it. So yeah, I'm gonna have to do a little. I think what I'll do is when I post this one, I'll put those pictures on here. So when I posted, you could see the pictures and the coordinates of it and stuff. But I was amazed. I'm like, where do people find this stuff? Because now I'm like on Google Earth, stretching everything out, zooming it, trying to see what I can see. I'm like, oh, man, there's got to be some stuff out there somewhere. So, but yeah, it's fascinating. So fascinating. Well, Star, thank you for sharing that with us. I'm going to switch over to Kelly here real quick so we can get.
Yeah, I'm interested in his stuff too because I've lived in several haunted houses and had a whole bunch of that type
We may
stuff
have to
go
go
on
back
too.
to her
So
too for
I'm
this.
really
So,
interested to hear
so
this.
yeah, tonight we wanted to bring up some paranormal because I had a lot of people that believe in this. My wife is one. My daughter-in-law is one. When we first moved up to Tennessee, and we were looking at houses, we went to a house and this really old house, and it was kind of creepy. And there was like this cross on the wall, and my daughter-in-law was like, "Nope, out, we're gone." I mean, I was like, "Okay, this place probably got to be haunted because it just looked like it would be a haunted house." But they watch all these shows, and I watch them, and I'm like, "God, man, that is so fake. That guy is just—there's no way, you know." Right. And we
And
talked
there's a
about
lot
that.
of
We
them
talked
that
about
is.
that the other day
They
with the one investigator that went to your friends and just totally turned her whole story around, which is really pisses
right.
me off because then it takes shows like mine and doesn't try, they don't look as credible. And that's the whole reason I want to do this because it's like I told Kelly when I started this, I don't edit anything you guys say. So when I do my edits, I add some music in here and some text or whatever I got to do, but I don't edit what you say because I want your voice to be heard. So anyway, so I'm going to stop talking my voice so that Kelly can actually get his voice heard. So Kelly, go ahead.
All right, thanks, Ed. Yeah, well, I guess I can kind of set the scene up first.
Okay.
I kind of like Star. I grew up in a small town. We only had 1.5 traffic lights because we just had one of the caution lights that blinked.
Okay.
But yeah, I grew up on my family's farm, and we had 110 acres on our side of the road, and they had a couple hundred acres on their side of the road. So in this 2 mile stretch of the road that I grew up on, there were literally 12 houses. That
Wow.
was it. We were all farmers.
Where was this at?
It's right outside of Athens, and it's a
In
little community.
Georgia?
Yes, in Georgia.
Okay.
And we, on our property, surrounded by our property was, it's still there. If I'd have thought about it, I would have went and taken some pictures of it. But it's just a little family cemetery. And it's surrounded on all 4 sides by pasture land that we've used. The farm's been our family since 1919.
Wow.
And so we just had always had this little cemetery, and we'd cut the grass and stuff like that, and when it needed to be cleaned up, we cleaned it up, and and I grew up next to this cemetery, never thought anything about it. When I was in elementary school, a lot of the kids are like, "You live next to a cemetery?" It's like, well,
Oh, I know. That
yeah.
would creep me out as a kid.
But yeah, and I wasn't creeped out at all. I just, it was always, it was probably 25 yards from the back door of my house. I've even, there's some of the really big monuments out there. I've even gone and sat on top of those and done my homework.
Oh,
You're
not supposed to be sitting on gravestones.
Yeah. But yeah, it was, it's not really, it was never freaky or anything like that.
Right.
And the property that we have, there's there's back behind where my house was, there was also a headwaters, like a spring to one of the major creeks and rivers in our area. So there was a lot of Native American activity in that area because it was a very easy place to get fresh water from. So I found as a kid, I found arrowheads, hand axes, pieces of pottery. So there's a lot of
Wow.
history on this property.
Right. That's cool.
Yeah, and so you know, to make it even a little weirder or a little odd, a little more odd, I guess. I've always been told that the hill that's on the backside of our property is the tallest place in the county. So if you're looking at a topographical map, which I've not done, but I've always been told by my grandparents that it was the highest place. And that hill has always been called Redhead Bloody Bones Hill. So, not sure why, not sure where that came from, but that's what it's always been called.
Wow.
So, anyway, we got, so my story is, I live next to the cemetery. On the very edge of the cemetery, there is a Revolutionary War soldier and his wife's. It is it's surrounded by a concrete fence, and I'm sure this was added later at some point. But there you can see there are two. It would make you think. I've never opened one up to figure this out or not. But the way their graves are situated, they're above ground. So there's like a big heavy piece of granite on top of it that tells you who it was and tells you their whole story and where they lived. I'm sure it was added at probably a later date, but it would have to be probably in the 1800s somewhere.
Like kind of like a crypt?
Yeah, it looks like an above ground crypt, but there's two of them. And they're big enough to probably just hold the casket. So this, you know, and again, this thing's been here, you know, obviously forever. And I had some friends over at my house one night. Two good friends, known them all my life, still know them to this day. One of them, I think, is probably listening. Because like I told you before the show, he said he had completely forgotten about it until I mentioned something to him.
How old were you guys?
Let's see, it would have to be probably about either 1981 or 82, so probably about 12 years old.
Okay. So you weren't little kids that, you know, somebody could go, oh, well, you're just a little kid. You don't know what you're seeing. So yeah, 12
Right.
years old, you would be like, oh, I know what that was. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right. Exactly. And and these guys had come over, spent the night, and you know we were all into, you know, back then, you know, the space shows were popular. Like you had Buck Rogers a few years before, and you had Battlestar Galactica and Star Wars and everything, and so we were really into space stuff at that point in time. And I don't know if you remember these little things or not, but do you ever remember a little tank-looking thing that rolled along the ground? You could program it, and it would go 2 feet this way, turn, and then it would go 4 feet this way. It was called a Big Trax.
Yeah.
Okay. It was called a Big Trax.
Yeah.
Well, my buddy brought one of these things, and you know we played with it. You know, had fun with it, and you know, basically, you know, played with it all day and all night, and changed the batteries, and then the next morning, we got up, and we got it real early, and we went outside and started playing with this thing, and you know, we were just all sitting there, and it's like, well, what else else kind of trouble can we get into? What can we do with this thing? And so I had the idea. I said, look, there's a Revolutionary War grave in the old cemetery out here. I said it would be really cool to take the big tracks and program it to where it would give a 21 gun salute. And,
Okay.
all the boys were like, the two guys were like, oh yeah, that's a cool idea. Let's go do that. Da 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 da. So we all go running out there, and you on this side, on our neighbor's side of the road, it's all their house is right across the street, but there's pasture land all over, no trees, no nothing. Okay,
Right.
and then on our side of the road, it's probably about 300 yards to the railroad tracks of nothing but pasture land, and then we had the woods back behind there. So you could see all around us. Okay, so this is early in the morning, and it's really early, and this is in the summertime. But what was kind of strange about this was during the summertime, there was a little mist. There was just a little mist that was, it had been heavy dew the night before, and so there was a
Right.
mist kind of coming across the pasture. So
That's not creepy at all.
Yeah, no, not creepy at all. So we take the big tracks, we go over there. It takes us a little while to get it to program it to do what we do, because you're doing this all by key functions on top of it.
Right.
So we sat there and we finally get it to going, and it starts shooting. Okay, and it's making the boom, 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 and I'm not sure exactly where we hit on the magic number. I can't remember where it hit off the top of my head, but all of a sudden, the mist, I noticed it to get a little cooler, and the mist started to get a little thicker, and and you kind of felt a little cold. Well, when this, the big track's still shooting, well, during that time, all of a sudden, we hear drums. Not like AC/DC drums or anything like that, but like
Right.
literal marching drums, like a cadence type, like a beating of a drum. And then we
Right.
hear and we kind of look at one another, and then all of a sudden, we hear a fife playing. So we hear the fife. And it's, obviously I'm so young, I don't remember, I don't know any tunes or anything like that.
Right.
But then after we heard the fife, my uncle, who lived probably 200 or so yards down the road, we hear his dogs begin to bark. And he has beagle hounds, and they started just going crazy. And so we continue to hear this, and then all of a sudden we start hearing men screaming like they're dying. And then we start to hear musket fire. And being from the country, the difference between a rifle, a shotgun, and a musket. You can tell the difference. Right. And there was musket fire, men screaming, the drum cadence, and we all looked at one another and just turned around and just hollered and started running, because we didn't
see nothing.
We didn't see. Like I said, the only thing we saw was the mist, and we felt it get cool. Okay, and then we heard the fife, heard the drums, and heard the men yelling, and heard musket fire. Now, and when I've told this story before, people are like, well, there's got to be somebody hunting. Somebody's got to be hunting. They're running
with a drum and a fife.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, yeah, not with the drum and a fife. Oh, well, the shots. They were back there hunting rabbits or coons or something like that. And it's like, no, you don't hunt raccoons in the daytime. And yeah, could it have been somebody hunting rabbits? Sure, but they would have to get permission from my grandfather, who owned
Right.
this side of the road, and they'd have to get permission from our friends on this side of the road. We all knew who was hunting and who was doing what at any given time. And so,
And so none of your other friends knew you guys were even out there, right? It was just you and two other buddies, and that was
right,
it.
yeah, just me, because there were actually four who had actually three others who had spent the night. So it was me and three buddies. One of them had gotten picked up by their parents, and so it was just me and these two other buddies. And yeah, that was it. That was our creepy story. Now,
And that wasn't something you guys had planned to do. You guys just came up with the big tank thing that morning, right? And said,
right,
"Hey, let's go do this." So nobody else could have heard you say, "Yeah, we're going to do this." Nobody else could have heard you and pre-planned something.
nope.
Hey, let's go get a drum and fife and muskets. So,
Right.
okay.
Because when we did that, we were standing, in the yard and just playing around. And, like I say, just went over there and said, hey, this would be a really good idea. Let's have some fun with old big tracks. And
Right.
we did. And it was,
When you
Yeah,
like,
I was
Oh,
gonna
no,
did you take
yeah.
big tracks or did you
that
leave
was
it?
that was my friend's expensive toy. So, we took it with us. And if I'm not mistaken, he still has it to this day.
Wow. That's amazing. That is
So,
amazing.
but like I say, I've heard in our houses before. We've heard footsteps, but you could be like, and I'll say I do have this one as well, which is nothing big, but was sitting on the back porch, and both my parents are sitting there with me talking, and on the floor of the house you hear a perfect set of doom 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 all the way to the end
Get
of the
out.
house.
Get out.
Yeah.
Why are you still
Yeah.
living in that house?
Been there, done that.
Oh,
If I hear
well,
something like that, I'm gone.
well, I thought about that, but see, I was already outside of the house,
Right.
So I'm pretty sure as a kid, you'd have probably seen the Scooby Doo hole in the side of the wall.
Right.
But
Man.
yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah. But like I say, I've always heard this, and you've probably on some of the ghost shows and things like that. Anytime that you have a place that has is like a high point somewhere, that there can be some paranormal activity, and also with water being involved with Native Americans and things of that nature, to where there's like a community or something at that point. I've always heard that was a place for high paranormal activity.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Sure.
I got a question. Where did you could you tell us more about, like, where did that name come from? The name of that place, the Bloody Mary,
Bedhead Bloody Bones Hill,
or whatever.
I am not sure.
Yeah. Do you know? I mean, most places have like like Irwin, the river that goes through Irwin. There, there was a big battle in the Red Banks because the bank was covered in blood. I was just wondering if you ever discovered of why maybe that was named that for a reason.
Bloody Bones Hill.
You're gonna have
I'm
to.
not
You're gonna
sure.
have to send me that because I'm gonna have to. Now I'm gonna have to
Wow.
research that
Right.
because that's creepy.
And that's my uncle and my mother called it that, and knew it that when they were in the 30s and 40s.
Wow.
So I'm not sure where that comes from.
There's got to be.
I'd be
reason.
curious. Yeah, I'm gonna have to research that because I'm curious to find out where that name came from because there's got to be a backstory to it. So.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure it can't be good. Not with that name. So, but yeah, like Star said, it could be could have been a battle or something over there, but yeah, I'm curious to see. So yeah, email me that if you would, that name, so I can do a little research.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
then
I'll
once
do
I
that.
find out, I'll have you back on and we can discuss it some more, and and we can
Cool. Yeah.
talk about the name.
But yeah,
So
what I'll do is I'll also email you the name of the Revolutionary War soldier. It escapes me right now. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but I'll
that's
email
great.
you his name and his wife's name, and you could
Yeah, it'd be
probably.
interesting to find out some more information, maybe get some of their relatives or something on here or something too. That would be
Mhm.
really interesting. So
And
that's
and there's also a Confederate soldier
The
buried out there as
temperature.
well. So,
really,
but we didn't take the big tracks and go do anything for him after that happened. We were in the house too scared to come
well,
out.
your buddy has the big track still, so maybe you guys should go and do a little trip, a day trip, and
Go back.
let me know. I'll come with you, and we could do the show live while you're doing
Oh,
that.
no.
Yeah, I mean, it's only it's only 5 minutes or so down the road, so that wouldn't be a big deal.
That'd be cool.
Hmm.
You was talking about the temperature dropping. Even as young kids, you're 12, you guys don't have any idea or realize that has anything to do with
And you
Mhm.
see that
ghost
you
stuff,
see that all the
but
time.
yet it does. It does. It's like they absorb energy in it, and it like temperatures. You can
Yeah,
can
you see that
record
all the time,
drops in
even on
temperature.
TV
You really
shows and
can.
stuff. When some kind of entity or ghost or something comes in the room, everybody always says they feel the temperature drop. So,
Right.
um, wow, that was
Well,
fascinating. That's awesome.
I like
That
the
was
yeah. So
definitely awesome.
and like
too.
too, that was just I'm like you, as after having that experience, and you watch these ghost shows and stuff like that. I watched one night, and I'm a ham radio operator, and
Okay.
they were using some sort of radio that was in the ham bands to, I guess, do some poking around, trying to with ghosts and stuff like that. And I started looking. I was like, well, wait a minute. I can do that with my radio.
Right.
And sure enough, you look at it, and it's like, well, that you're not really doing what the radio is supposed to be doing. So how are you affecting it that way?
Yeah,
You know,
that's because they're trying to make exciting TV,
right?
and that's
No. You just don't believe yet, but you will. Hey, Ed, look up, do some
okay.
research on something
Message
called
me
a
or
Frank's
email me
box.
on that. Message me on it because I'm not going to remember it unless I watch the show, and then. But definitely, yeah. I
You know what, Charlie? Do you know
No.
what that is? They call it a Frank's box.
Is
The
that the
guy who
little
invented
box
the name's
to
Frank.
where it has a radio trans or receiver inside of it? Okay.
Yeah, and you set it. If you get it set just right, you can literally pick up voices
Great,
from the other
great,
side.
great. Now my wife's going to want to build one of these because every time she hears something like this, she's like,
You
"Oh,
can
we should
buy
get
it.
that," because
Just-
she's
just
already wanting to buy
buy
one of
it.
those EMP things or whatever, and give that to my daughter-in-law so they could find ghosts. And now she's
Oh yeah.
going to find out. Oh, we can make one of these. So that's
Right.
great.
Actually, you can make one, but I think they're not as expensive as they was when they first come out. So
I'm a
it'd
believer
probably be
in
better to just go and buy
if
one.
there are ghosts, I don't think I want to start looking and inviting them around. Okay. UFOs,
Careful.
definitely want to see one of those. Star did send me a thing on the Bigfoot Festival that I cannot wait to go to now. So in Tennessee, there's a Bigfoot.
We
We
all
are.
need
the
to
whole
go to that.
family's
We
going.
need
We're
to
all
get
going.
Jess
It's a
and
Bigfoot
you and
Festival.
your
They have
wife,
vendors,
all of
food
us.
trucks. I'm dying to see what the Bigfoot competition is because I have no idea what that is. But I am definitely looking forward to that. So I appreciate you guys being on here tonight. This was a really good show. You guys, as usual, Star, you're always awesome on this show. So I appreciate you being on here. I know you were not feeling 100%. Yeah, but
I
it's
just know
fascinating.
too
It's
much.
fascinating.
That's all.
Kelly, your story was awesome. I wish you had like 20 more. So
All right.
if you,
I'm
if you know
kind of glad
anybody
maybe
else,
I don't have any more, you know?
yeah, right. Well, I may be back on here again as a guest just
I've got a footstep for
to
you.
discuss stuff with other guests and stuff. So if you don't mind, so
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna go look up Frank's box, and I'm gonna look at the frequency range on it, and I might can build you something.
okay, cool. Well, I appreciate it. So next week, I think I'm going to try and do the same thing. I don't know if I'm going to have new guests. Star, you're always welcome to come back if you want. Just let me know. I know. Okay.
I want to tell you a footstep story.
Okay.
Mm.
Like he was
All right.
talking
So
about the
next week, then,
footsteps.
if you don't mind,
I
I'll have
got
you back again. Okay. As long as you don't mind.
okay. Because when he said that, it was just like,
So, and
oh
this is a
wow, you
paranormal
really
or a
got to
UFO
hear
story?
this one.
Okay, good.
No, it's paranormal. It's a ghost. It was the first. It was actually the first apartment I ever
Okay.
lived in. Let me tell my baby good night. Night night. Yes, go. But no, it was the very first apartment I
All
ever
right.
lived
Don't
in,
say any more.
and
Don't
it
say
was
any more.
haunted.
'Cause I want everybody to come back
And
next week. And
yeah, we left.
Yeah, so
We
Star will be
left.
back next week. So with another story, and I'm going to try and get a couple more guests. You know, one or two more guests if we can, with some more paranormal stuff. Do you?
Oh, I've got somebody for
Tell
you
them to get
who would be a
tell
great
them to get a
guest.
hold of me then. So,
Yeah,
and
paranormal.
we'll get them on the show too. Then I
I
appreciate it.
will.
So,
He would be
again,
great.
want to thank our sponsor to Midnight Oil Muscle Car Parts. www.momcp.com. Kelly Timms, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody else, for watching the show. If you know anybody that wants to discuss UFOs, aliens, paranormal, Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, any of those things, have them get a hold of me, Ed Sullivan Experience at gmail.com, or you can find me on Facebook, or you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's all kinds of ways to find me. Get a hold of me. We'll get you on the show. I really appreciate everybody coming out. Thanks for watching. You guys have a great night. So let me
Thanks.
Thanks.
okay. Let me just make sure we're not live on YouTube anymore.